Hey, what's up YouTube, Skybadger here, and this isn't the normal place you start a video, on a Google Docs spreadsheet. So over the past few weeks, I've been doing some testing with a little bit of help from Nick. You may have seen him in the comments. And in order to actually get to where we'd like to start testing, I decided that I'd run a few tests with rockets. And that has nothing to do with this video. So basically, in the test I did, I wanted to figure out how many rockets it took to destroy a level 1 barracks. And while I found it took a maximum of 10 and a minimum of 7, there's a lot of variation in there. And occasionally, rockets weren't doing any damage to the buildings. And I wanted to figure out why this was. And I think I've either found a bug, or a game mechanic, or someone's never told me about this and I've just never known it. So if it's the latter, please tell me if this is just a common game feature that I've just been ignorant of for the past year and a half. So basically what I noticed is that occasionally, every now and then, a rocket wouldn't do any damage to the target it hit. And at first I thought, well, I'm not really running a fair test. And that's true, none of the tests I've ran have been completely fair, and I haven't eliminated all of the variables, and I haven't controlled all the variables I could have. But basically what I noticed is every single time I got a 0 and I didn't deal any damage, it was because the rocket struck while we were in peace and started the conflict. So what I found is that with certain units in the game, the first attack you launch against an enemy province will do no damage to buildings at all. So let's just have a look at some of the footage I've captured, and we'll go over the units that I know this affects, and the units I know this doesn't affect, and how I believe this works. So once again, if this is a bug that I found, please tell me in the comments. If it's a actual game mechanic, which I guess it could be, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, and if you've noticed this effect as well, let me know in the comments as well. And once again, if I'm just being stupid and I've been ignorant of this for the past 1.5 years, let me know as well, because I don't want to tell people stuff they already know. So anyway, let's move on to the footage and let's see how I was able to get these results. So this was one of the first rockets I launched, and basically what we notice here is that these two rockets hitting Galway do no damage to the buildings when they hit. So they hit, it updates, and we'll notice that the barracks and the naval port did not take any damage. Now if we have a look at the rocket in the other screen, this is actually a funny little bug I noticed, is when I go to set up for the next test and return to peace, the rocket kind of bugs out a bit, and it just kind of looks weird. Yeah, like it looks like it's launched in front of those group of ships down there. Funny little bug. No big deal. Anyway, so let's just speed up and get to the next test. Now I wanted to make sure that it just wasn't a probability thing, and because I was aiming at two small buildings in the middle of nowhere, that there was a chance I could miss both. So this is going up against a bigger target, and as you can see, although the buildings are already damaged, although they rearranged the order, they didn't take any damage themselves. So this right here is a little bit of a naval test, and as we can see, when we open fire with three battleships, the buildings don't take any damage. I was kind of expecting them to take damage. You can see here that I'm kind of waiting a bit. I'm a little confused about what's happening, but basically it didn't take any damage at all. That right there is a tactical bomber, and I did question that because that level of tactical bomber can only do 1 damage, if it is possible that it just was negligible, it just wasn't enough to register. So I tested later on with a strategic bomber, which could deal 15 damage, and no damage was recorded. So this is the first unit I found that the effect doesn't work with, and thank God, because if this didn't work, it would be a massive flaw in the game. So as you can see, the nuke does damage on the first attack. So this right here is artillery, and this one here took a little longer to register than I thought. And as you can see here, when we launch the artillery and we go to war, nothing happens. It takes a little bit to register, and you'll see that the barracks and the naval port flipped, and that is basically the sign that it picks up and it's registered. But in the end, even after waiting for it to pick up, no damage was done to the buildings. So that there is another obvious example. And Right here at the moment we got another test, seeing what happens when troops invade a province and they capture it. Now this seemed to be a little bit different, and as you can see there, the buildings took damage. This leads me to believe that it's only certain ranged attacks. I wanted to make sure it wasn't all attacks, so rocket attack against troops and see if the troops took damage. Interestingly, this is a level 4 rocket against one troop with not even full health, and it didn't even kill him. So that's something to test later on. And I just wanted to try that again, so one rocket against two troops at full health, and let's see what happens here. The troops took damage, as you will see, and not as much damage as you would have thought they should have taken, but they took damage. I tested it as well. If there's troops underneath the building that you're hitting, then the building won't take any damage, but the troops will. So how can you use this to your advantage? With the troops I've tested this with, and I'm not going to test it any further, I've got other stuff to test, but basically what I found is with certain units, make sure the first province you attack, if you actually want to get some use out of your troops, actually has something in it to hit, like infantry or something like that. Or at least you declare war on your opponent before you launch that first rocket, strategic bomber, regular tactical bomber, artillery, or launch stuff from battleships. So the only units I know this doesn't work at the moment, the only ranged units that is the nuclear rocket, and with it I suspect, although I have not tested, the nuclear bomber. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I wonder what this actually is.